Today, in this session, we are going to start with our new topic, that is file management. And before actually discussing about file system and file management in operating system, let's discuss what actually is meant by file. What do you mean by a file? Basically, a file is a named collection of related information that is recorded on secondary storage, such as your magnetic disk, tapes, optical disk, etc. It is just a sequence of bytes, bits, lines, or records whose meaning is defined by the file's creator or user. So, all the related information, that is your data, when it is organized in a sequence of bytes or lines or records, that will be considered as your file. Your file may consist of numerics, characters, images, graphs, anything, but in a very informative way. सो कोई भी एक ऐसा डॉक्यूमेंट, कोई भी एक ऐसे फाइल जो भी एक इंफॉर्मेशन प्रोवाइड कर रही है, रिलेटेड इंफॉर्मेशन प्रोवाइड कर रही है, दैट विल बी टर्म्ड एज योर फाइल, एंड दैट फाइल इज स्टोर्ड over your optical disk. It can be stored in your secondary storage, hard disk, any. So actually file is what? It is a data collection that is created by users, and a file system is one of the most important part of operating system to a user, which actually manages all the things related to your files. So file system actually organizes your files. It decides which operation to be followed over which file, and users can access that file or not. That is also decided by file systems. It's the file system who decides where the files will be stored, and from where they will be retrieved, and how they will be retrieved, at what time, for how long, and how the files will be deleted. So all these related tasks can be done by file system when they are a part of operating system. And files have the various desirable properties. The various properties of files are as long-term existence. That means files are stored on disk or other secondary storage and do not disappear when a user logs off. So they will be stored permanently in the secondary storage. Once they are stored, they cannot be vanished, they cannot be lost. So the files have their long-term existence. Once the file is created, they are stored, saved properly. They will be there as long as user or the system would not delete that particular file. The next property that a file holds is shareable between processes. Files have names and can be associated access permissions that permit controlled sharing. So any file can be accessed by any process at any time by any user. The only thing is that the user or the process must have the permission to access that file, and that those permissions are checked and controlled by file system. It's the file system who decides which user or which process can access a particular file, and at what time and for how long. All these tasks are being maintained by file system. Then the other property that holds by file is structure. Files can be organized into hierarchical or more complex structure to reflect the relationships among files. So they can be organized in a very hierarchical structure. They can be stored in directories, which, like, as a group of file which are related, which are linked up, and from where we can easily track the files, or we can identify the names of the file. So these are the various desirable properties of files that a file must hold. Then what actually a file system is? Basically, a file system provides a means to store data in a very organized way in files, as well as collection of functions that can be performed on file. So file system basically helps you to create a file, edit a file, then you can save your all related data in particular file, and over the time you can access those information, those data from that file. And it maintains a set of attributes associated with the file. And what are the attributes actually? They are the properties of a file. So what attributes can be associated with the file? A file name. File system maintains the file name so that you can access, you can refer to particular file with its name. Then it holds other properties as in file size, file type, its extension, its format, at what time it's been created or updated. All these informations are maintained by a file system. Then various typical operations that can be performed over a file, which are supported by a file system, are: create. You can create any file with the help of file system at any point of time, store it, edit it, and then you can delete the created file. When the file is not required, you can delete it and free up the space for some other files or data to get stored. You can open the file when you want to have an access to the information or data holded by that file. You can close a particular file when the task is done. Then you can read the data or information that is stored in the file. You can write it, modify it, edit it at any time. And all these operations are supported by a file system. So a file have a defined structure. So there is a defined structure of a file, as in a file structure should be according to the required format that the operating system can understand. That is, a file has a certain defined structure according to its type. A text file is a sequence of characters organized into lines, so that is the predefined structure or format. A source file is a sequence of procedures and functions, so they are folded by all the functions and procedures which are required for the execution of a program. And when we are talking about object file is a sequence of bytes organized into blocks that are understandable by the machine. So as we know, object file is a machine level language file, and they are basically organized in the form of blocks. When operating system defines different file structures, it also contains the code to support these file structures, as in Unix, MS-DOS support maintain minimum number of files. So when we are talking about file structure, there are four terms that actually decides the structure of a file. The one is field, other is record, then is file and database. So let's discuss one by one in detail. So these are the various terms that are associated with file structure. So when we are talking about field, what actually a field is? A field is a basic element of data. As in, let's say we are maintaining a student record with certain fields. So under that, we need to store name of the student, roll number of the student, class and year in which semester the student is. So these are the related information, related data that we need to maintain as a record with certain fields. And field is what? Field is the name of the student. That is one single field. And if I am talking about roll number is another field. So it is the basic element of data, and together these fields are generating a record. So we are maintaining a record about student information. So the basic element of data is termed as your field. It contains a single value, as in if I am talking about some students roll number. So a particular roll number belongs to one student, and that is one single field about that student. So it is one single value. Roll number is one single value for a particular entity. Alright. So that will be considered as your field, and it is fixed or variable length. It can be of fixed or variable length, as in if we are talking about name of a student. Name of a student can be of 4 characters, it can be of 12 characters, so it can be fixed or a variable length. Then apart from that, the structure is formulated by database. So what actually database is? Database is the collection of related data. So all the related information that is maintained in any kind of relationship, in any kind of table, so that table would be considered as one database for the related data. As in, if I am talking about the student information is having certain fields, as in student name, roll number, class, semester. So it's related data that is about the student. So likewise, we can have another table that is referring to the marks of the student, where we are maintaining the student name, roll number, assignment 1 marks. So all the related information, these two tables are associated with the student. So they are one database. All the related data that is maintained in certain kind of relationship. It can be implicit relation, it can be explicit relation. So when we are maintaining such data, such records, they are considered as one database, and they are designed for use by a number of different applications. So various applications can refer these information, these data, to have an access to provide certain records to read. So these information, these databases can be referred or used by certain applications. So it consists of one or more type of files. And what actually a file is? File is basically a collection of similar records. It is treated as single entity. It may be referenced by a name. File is always having its unique name. And like you create a Word file. So it's a textual file, Word file, under which you can have related records. It is maintained in a sequence of lines, formats. You can include images, tables as well. And this file can be created by you. It can be saved or stored for longer time, and you can give a unique name to that particular file, and you will decide under what directory or under what drive or folder that particular file will be saved, and you will refer to that particular file with its name. And access control restrictions usually apply by at the file level. So you must have seen certain files who have only read only capability. That means writing or editing is restricted to that particular file. That means the data of that file can only be read by you, but you cannot modify or alter that data. Similarly, when you are creating a Word document, you have read and write access both. So these accesses are controlled by file system at file level. Apart from this, we have records. So record is what? It is basically the collection of related fields. As I have given you the example of student information, one field is student name, the other field is roll number, the next field is class of the student or semester of the student. But when we are clubbing these fields, when we are collecting collectively, all these fields are providing us one record about student. So we are maintaining one record with certain fields that can be treated as a unit by some application program, and it can be accessed by any application as and when required. So again, records can be of fixed or variable length. So a particular file can be maintained. The structure of a file is consists of basically four parts. One is field, record, database, and file. So this is how we can maintain our information or data in the form of files. So moving ahead, file management system have certain objectives. So what are the basic goals or objective of file management system? It meets the data management needs for the user. So whatsoever operations or procedures are required by the user to manage their data in the form of files, or maybe controlling the access of file or storing the file, all these tasks are being managed by file management system, and it guarantees that the data in the file are valid, they will not be altered or modified unauthorizedly. Then it optimizes the performance. That means if any process or application request to access those files, they will provide those files, and uh, without delay they will open and alter and save these files as and when they are required. Moreover, it provides input-output support for a variety of storage devices types, and it minimizes the potential for lost or destroyed data. So once you have created your file, you have write some data or information into that file and the file is stored, you can rely that nothing will be lost, and your file will be securely saved in the secondary storage. So all the data and information will be provided to you as it is, as and when it is required. Moreover, it provides a standardized set of input-output interface routines to user processes. So there are standard interfaces, that is from where you can request to access a particular file and retrieve the data. So there are certain standardized procedures for that, and these procedures are decided and maintained by file management system. Also, it provides input-output support for multiple user in the case of multiple user systems. So when many users are there who are requesting for files or maybe a single file to access, then it's the task of file management system to provide all the support, whether which user can have the access and at what time and for how long. All these decisions are maintained by file management systems. Then there are certain minimal user requirements that each user must pose, and they should be able to create, delete, read, write, or modify these files. So any file management system who is into our operating system, they must accomplish these tasks that each user at least can create their own files. They must have all the rights to delete as and when required. They can read, write, and modify the files, and the file system must support these operations. Moreover, it also may have controlled access to other users' files. Let's say I have created one file and I want to give controlled access to my file. I don't want anyone to just click on my file and have the access and steal my data. I don't want that. So you can control the access, that who can have access to the files and who cannot see the files data, and these controlled access can be provided by the file system. Then it may also be control what type of access are allowed to the files. Type of access as in, maybe you have created a file, you have all the rights to write, delete, and modify, but you don't want to give any other user to have those access. So you can have a controlled access, as in you can allow users to read the information that you have provided, you have in the file, but they are not allowed to modify or alter or delete your file. So this way you can have partial access or controlled access. And the file system must also should be able to restructure the file in the form appropriate to the problem. So if, according to one application, one structure is appropriate, there may be a chance that, according to the perspective of others' application or its requirement, the structure is not appropriate. So there should always be a way to restructure your file, so that these procedures will be provided by the file system. And also, it should be able to move data between files. So it's also a capability that files can exchange their data, and these capabilities are provided by the file system. And it should be able to back up and recover files in case of damage. So file system always recover or back up your files as and when required, because files may contain some crucial information, some important information. And in case of any physical environmental damage or any software damage, so in certain scenarios your files or data should not be lost, so there must be a backup or recovery procedures that are provided by the file systems. Apart from that, it should be able to access his or her files by name rather than the numeric identifiers. So every file must have the unique, readable, understandable name to which one can refer, so that we don't have to actually memorize the numerical values of that file, because it would be too uh, hectic for users to remember or to jot down such names. Rather, you can have a nice name, unique name to your file, easy name, and that can be referred as and when it is required. So these are the few minimum requirements that must be posed by the file system. So these capabilities should be there when we are identifying the file system, and these are the basic tasks that are expected by a file management system to accomplish. So this is all for today's discussion. In today's discussion, we have discussed about file, what actually a file is, what is file system, and what is the structure of a file, and what are the minimum requirements that are accomplished and maintained by file management system. So anyone is having any kind of doubt, as if now, may ask the question, and rest will be continuing in our next session.